Hello, my friends. Leave a comment where you see us and at what time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It was a chilly October night when Officer Mark Thompson received a call about a trespasser in the old Oakwood Cemetery. The cemetery, dating back to the 1800s, was known for its ornate tombstones and eerie atmosphere, especially after dark. Mark, a veteran officer with 15 years on the force, didn't believe in ghosts, but even he felt a shiver as he drove through the wrought iron gates. The moon was full, casting long shadows between the gravestones. Mark parked his cruiser and grabbed his flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness like a knife. He walked slowly, listening for any sign of the reported trespasser. The only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. His radio crackled faintly, but no new updates came through. The air felt heavy, as if the cemetery itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. As he rounded a large mausoleum, he saw her, a woman in a flowing white dress, barefoot, her long hair cascading down her back. She stood still, facing away from him, seemingly lost in thought. "Ma'am, this is private property after hours," Mark called out, his voice echoing through the silent cemetery. She didn't respond. Mark approached cautiously, his hand resting on his holster. "Ma'am, are you all right? Do you need assistance?" Still no response. He was now close enough to see that her dress was old-fashioned, perhaps from the Victorian era. That's when he noticed something odd. Her feet weren't touching the ground. She was hovering a few inches above the grass. His breath caught in his throat as he realized this was no ordinary trespasser. The air grew colder, and the hairs on his neck stood up. Mark's heart raced. He had never believed in the supernatural, but this was undeniable. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Slowly, she turned to face him. Her face was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes were hollow, like black pits. Mark stumbled back, tripping over a tree root and falling to the ground. When he looked up, she was gone. He scrambled to his feet, shining his flashlight around, but there was no sign of her. Shaken, he decided to check the cemetery records. Back at the station, he looked up the plot where he had seen her. To his horror, he found that the grave belonged to Elizabeth Worthington, who had died in 1892 at the age of 25. The cause of death was listed as unknown, with no further details provided in the records. Determined to understand what had happened, Mark visited the local historical society and spoke with the curator, who provided him with old newspaper clippings and diaries from that era. Elizabeth had been a prominent figure in town, known for her beauty and kindness. She was engaged to a wealthy merchant, but on the day of their wedding, he never showed up. Rumors spread that he had run off with another woman, leaving Elizabeth heartbroken. A few days later, she was found dead in her home, with no signs of foul play. The coroner ruled it a suicide, but the method was never disclosed, leading to speculation and mystery. Mark felt a chill as he read these accounts, wondering if he had truly seen her spirit. As Mark read through the diaries, he came across an entry from Elizabeth's best friend, who claimed that Elizabeth had spoken of seeing apparitions and hearing voices in the weeks leading up to her death. She had become convinced that her fiancé was communicating with her from beyond, urging her to join him. Mark felt a chill run down his spine. Could it be that Elizabeth's spirit was still earthbound, searching for closure? That night, unable to sleep, Mark decided to return to the cemetery. He parked his car outside and walked in, this time without his uniform, just a civilian investigating a mystery. The night was still, and the moon was hidden behind clouds, making the cemetery even darker. He made his way to Elizabeth's grave and sat down beside it, feeling foolish but compelled to try something. "Elizabeth," he whispered, "if you're here, I want to help you. Tell me what you need." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a soft wind picked up, and he felt a cold presence beside him. He turned and saw her again, the woman in white, but this time her eyes were no longer hollow, they were filled with sadness. She reached out a hand, and Mark, though terrified, extended his own. Their fingers touched, and he felt a surge of emotion, grief, betrayal, loneliness. It was as if her pain had become his own for a fleeting moment. In that instant, he understood. Elizabeth's spirit was trapped because she had died with unfinished business. She needed to know what had happened to her fiancé. Mark promised her that he would find out. The next day, he tracked down descendants of the merchant and uncovered the truth. The fiancé had indeed left town with another woman, but they had both perished in a shipwreck a month later. Elizabeth had never known, and perhaps if she had, she might not have taken her own life. Mark felt a pang of sympathy for her, imagining the despair that had driven her to such an end. Mark returned to the cemetery one last time, this time with a small bouquet of flowers. He placed them on Elizabeth's grave and told her what he had learned. As he spoke, he felt a weight lift from the air, and a sense of peace settled over the cemetery. That night, there were no more reports of trespassers, and Mark never saw the woman in white again. He believed that Elizabeth had finally found rest. The experience left him shaken, but also strangely fulfilled, as if he had helped someone in need, even if they were no longer among the living. From that day on, Mark became more open to the idea that there are things in this world that science cannot explain. He never told anyone about his experience, fearing ridicule, but it changed him forever. He patrolled the night shifts with a new respect for the unknown, always keeping an eye out for those who might need help, whether they be living or dead. The cemetery, once a place he avoided, became a reminder of the thin veil between the worlds of the living and the departed. Oakwood Cemetery remained quiet after that night, but Mark couldn't shake the feeling that Elizabeth's story wasn't the only one lingering among the tombstones. He began to notice small things during his patrols, faint whispers on the wind, shadows that moved just out of sight. He never saw the woman in white again, but he carried her memory with him, a reminder that some mysteries are meant to be felt rather than solved.